welcome to the Single Parent Reset Show. So today on the podcast, we have Liz Lewine, who is a career coach for teens and young adults. And Liz has had more than 20 years of experience as a corporate recruiter with some of the most sought after Fortune 500 companies and startups in the United States. She has hired thousands of high school and college graduates at companies such as Spotify, SiriusXM, GoodRx, Glassdoor, Disney Interactive, NBC Universal, Fender, Lucky Brand, and Lime. So she is going to be talking with us today all about something that I am really interested in, and I'm hoping all of you that are listening as well. We're going to be talking about why college may not be the answer for your teen right now, or maybe young adult. So we're going to get into it. So welcome, Liz.
Thanks, Tess. So happy to be here.
Yeah, so nice to have you here. Okay, great. So let's get started. First, I said a little bit about you, but I'd like for the audience to know more from you about the work that you do, just briefly, and then also why you do the work that you do and how you got into doing this.
Yes. Okay, so I will start with my why, because that is really driving.
Great.
It just drives my passion for this. My
Mm-hmm.
why is honestly, this is my own story. And
Okay.
of a teenager, myself,
Yep.
at age
Yep.
14 years old, I was diagnosed with executive functioning and ADHD. And
Okay.
through that diagnosis, I just struggled academically. School
Mm-hmm.
really, really hard for me. I had to go to multiple different schools. I was tested all the time to figure out why kind of way I was learning wasn't like the typical learning process for others.
Yeah.
So also I come from an academic environment. My dad
Okay.
went to Hobart and Columbia. My mom went to Michigan and Berkeley, and
Okay.
my sister went to Brown. So
Okay.
I was in, truth be told, I felt like the black sheep of the family because I'm the oldest. I struggled academically. I felt different. And, my mom was a teacher, and she knew that something was off about my learning style. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
she sort of was spearheaded all of the testing. And that's when I got diagnosed with executive functioning and ADHD.
Okay.
Truth
Yeah.
be told, this was many moons ago, and it was called ADD
Yes.
back then.
It was called what?
It was just called ADD.
Oh,
And
the ADD.
I'm not
Yes. Yeah.
hyper at all. I don't have that
Yeah.
hyper, but they got rid of the ADD, and
Okay.
that's just ADHD. And so there's like
Mm-hmm.
1 and 2, and one is hyper, one
Mm-hmm.
is not. So I'm the one
Yes. Right.
not hyper, but I just
Okay.
learn differently. I mean, I just learn,
Mm.
I process
Yeah.
things differently. I don't learn like the typical way.
Mm-hmm.
And so through all of that pain and all of my struggles in school, my parents were like, "Oh my God, what are we gonna do with her?" So,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it was just
Right.
really obvious to myself, to my parents, to
Mm-hmm.
my teachers, and my
Right.
guidance counselor that I was not gonna go to college. So,
Yeah.
my parents found a gap year program, and off I
Okay.
went. So after high school graduation, kicking and screaming, but I was dropped off in the Appalachian Mountains of Hayden.
Oh my gosh.
It's true.
Wow.
And
Okay. So in Kentucky.
yeah, so it was called
Okay.
Hayden, Kentucky. It was a population of 350, and it was
Mm-hmm.
literally in the Appalachian Mountains. And was I was dropped off, and there off I go, And so
Yes.
I did this gap year, but it was
Okay.
interesting because I was with other teens my age.
Okay.
They had all deferred college for a year. So they were all
Mm-hmm.
back east, and they had
Okay.
deferred college for a year. So they had deferred Swarthmore, Boston College, Boston University, Princeton,
Mm-hmm.
Amherst, and then I was the only
Yep.
one on the West Coast, and I was the only one that
Okay.
wasn't going to college. But the gap year was in the healthcare field, and
Okay.
they most of my other gappers that I was with, they were doing
Mm-hmm.
like care related stuff, and like midwife,
Uh,
like training to be a midwife. And then
okay.
I was always really like, so academically, I sucked. I
Hmm.
was not
Yep.
good. I was like a shell of myself. But then when I was a camp counselor and when I was doing things other than academics, I thrived and I shone. So
Okay.
my star was super bright. And so my gap experience was working with kids because I loved being a camp
Okay.
counselor. So
Hmm.
throughout my high school years, I was a camp counselor at a sleepaway camp, and I didn't want to leave. I was in my element.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was really I was living my authentic self. So when I
Okay.
did my gap year, I tutored illiterate children.
Hmm.
I was an assistant basketball coach for the girls team.
Hmm. Okay.
I I got myself a sports internship at WIMT Mountain News in Hazard, Kentucky, and I
Okay.
volunteered at a women's shelter.
Oh,
And
wonderful.
I will tell you, I'm not kidding, Tess, this gap year literally saved
Hmm.
my life because
Mm.
I was struggled so mightily in academics, and because my self-esteem was so low because of how I felt internally, like,
Yeah.
why me? Why is my brain like this?
Hmm.
Why do I learn
Right.
so differently? I got myself in a very abusive relationship. So
Mm.
this gap year literally saved me, and I started to kind of build myself back up, and
Okay.
I learned accountability. I learned real world experience. I learned how
Hmm.
to like develop a work ethic.
Yep.
We had a uniform, and we had to wear khakis and whites, and we had to show up every day at
Yeah.
jobs, our internships, and
Yeah.
it really held all of us accountable.
Hmm.
I mean,
Wonderful. I,
yeah,
that is
that's
this,
my
all of
why.
this is amazing. I love it. I mean, that's your story, right? That's kind of where you went. And for parents that are listening out there, this is important. I mean, I'm getting there. I have a freshman right now. So we're going to be there in just a year. Very quickly. I know it's around the corner about kind of what's going to happen. Where's the kid going to go? And depending on your own family, your own values, I think in part kind of where you live, it seems like everyone where we live right now is just geared to go to college. Just you're going to college, right? That's what you're doing. So I'm happy and I'm psyched that we're having this conversation because
Oh,
it is something that we're, at least in my family, we're kind of tossing around about how what to do. And you look at your own kid, you got to look at what is going to be most important for them. Who are they? What are they feeling where they want to kind of gravitate towards? Whether they're good in school or not. Maybe they're an excellent student, they just don't either feel ready for college or want to delay it for a year and to have that little space because the kids do go. I mean, we all know well, parents of teens know this, but the kids are just by the teen years, you're like getting them to school each day is tough. They want to take breaks. And when we're done, we've done 12 to 13 plus years of every single year going to school for most kids. So like sometimes looking at that and kind of taking a break is nice. So let's I know I want to what I'd like to do is hear from you about the work that you do and some of the things that you talk to some of your clients about in terms of taking possibly a gap year and what that may look like. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're traveling around Europe and around the
no,
world. It could be
no, no,
it could be anything else. It could be staying at home, going to community college, doing a job part-time. Like it could be a
yeah,
variety of different things.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well, honestly, I guess the first thing I talk about is,
Yeah.
with parents is, and I,
Mhm.
I, I really try to convey to parents, like, it's really important to embrace
Mhm.
individual paths
Yeah.
because that is
Yeah.
exactly what that means is, you know, not everyone, you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. I mean, just take me and
Yeah.
my sister. I have a sister who's 3.5 years younger than
Mhm.
me, and
Mhm.
she was a straight A student. She went to private school. She went to
Yeah.
Brown. Me,
Mhm.
I practically failed high school, and then I
Yeah.
did graduate, but it was not easy. And then my
Mhm.
parents did embrace my
Yeah.
individual path and that was
Right.
when I did my gap year. And a gap year is absolutely
Okay.
not just spending your parents' money and traveling through
Yeah.
Europe and bar hopping and all
Yeah.
that stuff. It is doing something. It's basically an internship, to be honest. It is an internship.
Yeah.
You're figuring out something that you're interested in,
Okay.
and then you do a program.
Yep.
And so you learn by experience, and then you also have some
Yeah.
fun. I mean, I learned when I
Yeah.
was in Kentucky, I learned to square dance. I learned how to play guitar. I mean, it was really life-changing. And I just
Yeah.
learned how to be on my own. And so, and,
Right.
and then and after my gap year, yes, I did try community college, but again, it just wasn't for me. So I go back
Yeah.
to the embracing individual paths. Diverse
Mm-hmm.
paths are so valuable because
Mm-hmm.
when you want to set up your teen for success, it's important
Yeah.
that you choose that if they choose not to pursue a traditional college education, that's okay. It
Right.
really is okay, because what that's
Yep.
going to mean is that they are going to be living their true authentic selves. And so
Mm-hmm.
there will
Yeah.
be, they won't, if they're not forced into a situation that they're not ready for, or it's not for them, then they
Mm-hmm.
are going to be happier and they're going to be more successful as an adult. And so
Okay.
I know society, and we often have certain expectations or dreams for our
Mm-hmm.
children. And for many, that includes the vision of them attending college. However, it's so important to recognize
Yeah.
that college is one of many paths to success, and not just
Yes. Right.
the only path to success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and so
I
for example,
Go ahead.
there is, if the family doesn't want to do a gap year, maybe it's a trade. I say this all the time, and I tell my clients
Mm-hmm.
all the time. I give this exact
Mm-hmm.
example.
Yeah.
Just about 6 months ago, I needed a new battery replaced in my Prius, and
Mm-hmm.
my husband and I hired a mobile company that comes in and replaces batteries. And I was
Yep.
just talking to the person that was doing it. It was this amazing kid. I call him a kid because he was like
Yeah.
23 years old. And
Yeah.
he was so good. He was personable and he was quick. And we just started talking. And of course, me being the recruiter, the recruiter in me and coach
Yeah.
in me, I was asking him, about like how he got to where he is.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
I said, so did you go to college? No. Did you do a trade school? Not really. And I said, well, how are you? I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
amazing. This is incredible, and he
Yeah. Yes.
basically told me that ever since he was a kid, he was
Yeah.
fascinated by cars. And he was
Ah.
really, really, really good at fixing things and using his hands, and was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
I want to like replace batteries.
Yeah.
And he's like, Liz, I'm telling you, I'm so happy. I'm doing what I love. This is what I'm passionate about. I've known for years that I'm really good
Yeah.
at this type of work. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, and then I didn't obviously ask him this, but he offered. He's like, I'm making six figures. And he's like 22, 23 years old.
Oh my
So
God, that's amazing.
it
So
is.
looking for their own, what I'm hearing you say, to kind of reiterate this first point, is that you really embracing your own individual paths and looking at your own kid, teenager, um, and what their interests are, what they'd like to do, and really learning, because this year could be just learning by experience, and whether that's going off to be like a camp counselor, or even traveling if they wanted to, but you're learning by experience and learning on your own and gravitating towards things that interest you, just like this young boy did, having a mobile. Oh my God, I love that idea, because trying to get your car into the shop is just always like the hardest thing. And then you can't get a ride. And then it's,
They come to you. Yeah.
I know. I love
And
it. That's great.
he was getting offers. Like he was like, I have 5 people that just reached out to me, like other companies that want him to consult. I mean, this guy is
Yeah.
like, and you could just tell, like he was smiling. He was
Yeah.
happy because he was doing what
That's
he
wonderful
meant to do.
to
And
do.
he
Yeah.
even said, he's like, I was never academic. College just was not part of my future. He's
Hmm.
like, but I
Yeah.
knew that I had to have a plan, and
Yeah.
I'm really good with cars and mechanic and fixing things.
Right. Right. Okay. So that's great. That's a wonderful point about really looking at your own interests and where your kids are going. So what's our second kind of area that we want to focus on? I,
So yes. So after that, is
yeah.
cultivating confidence and resilience, because I
Okay.
think that is so, I mean, speaking from experience, I think I said earlier, I honestly had like no confidence because I was failing school. I
Hmm.
wasn't keeping up. And I just felt, and again, just being around
Yeah.
academics and feeling just not part of the family per se, because
Yeah.
just I wasn't myself. I just,
Yeah.
I really had no confidence. I really didn't.
Hmm.
And I only had confidence when I was in, I was away from home. I was in my, I was a camper and a camp counselor. It was a
Hmm.
camp.
Yeah.
And then I guess I did have confidence because
Hmm.
I didn't struggle with friends. I didn't struggle with like all that self-esteem stuff. I just, I kind of
Yeah.
radiated that. So obviously, as parents, parents
Yeah.
definitely want their child to be successful. And in this incredibly changing world where
Hmm.
traditions of successes are
Yeah.
being defined, it is so important to
Yeah.
help and equip our teens with the confidence and resilience that they need to navigate the
Yeah.
challenges and uncertainties of adulthood, because that
Yeah.
is the most important thing. So, why are confidence and resilience so vital for our teens,
Hmm.
especially if they do not want to attend college? Well,
Yeah.
it is the foundation upon which all success is built, right? So when teens
Hmm.
believe in themselves and their abilities, they are
Yeah.
more likely to take risks, seize opportunities, and overcome obstacles. So it's kind of
Absolutely.
no surprise that for me as a recruiter, I was the one that was always like, I want to go to startups. I don't care if they fold. Like it's all
Yeah.
about risk
Yeah.
taking. Like seriously,
Yeah.
it was all
Yeah.
about I am such a risk taker. I'm really, and I guess it's sort of very appropriate, going from the
Yeah.
corporate world now to starting my own coaching business. That's a
Yeah.
risk. But
Right. Yeah.
it all stems from having to develop confidence and resilience. So
Yeah.
there are lots of strategies. I think one is, and again, this goes back to the first topic, is it's
Hmm.
so important to encourage self-discovery and career exploration, or any exploration
Hmm.
after high school. So it's
Yeah.
helping, teens identify what their interests are, their passions, and their strengths. And honestly, encourage them to explore hobbies, activities, and experiences that will help them discover what brings them joy and fulfillment, because success and money and all that will follow. Um,
Okay. I have a question for you that I think
yeah,
most parents would ask. And that is, how do we, I know this because I'm there too, but how do we help our teens want to explore things that, that they're interested in, or different activities or different
yeah,
hobbies? How do we get them to do that? I definitely understand the value of that.
yeah.
I know that there are parents out there that are listening to this thinking, okay, that sounds great. I'd like to do that. How do we do this?
So many ways. One is fostering a growth mindset. So
Okay.
it really starts with a growth mindset. It's teaching your teenager to view challenges
Hmm.
as opportunities
Hmm.
for growth and learning. Because
Okay.
if I didn't like fall down like 20,000 times, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah.
Like I'm so much stronger than I was like back in when I was a 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Just because look, it is about failing, but then like
Hmm.
no one doesn't fail. But
Yeah.
it's how you, overcome that, or how you learn
It's
from
how
that.
I mean,
It is
right. So,
all about growth. And then
okay.
also, it's it's emphasizing that the importance of effort and perseverance
Okay.
and
Okay.
encouragement and resilience in achieving any goals. So
Okay.
I recommend parents help their teens set realistic goals, encourage the teen to set goals that are that align with their values and their aspirations, and break your goals down into very small, manageable goals and celebrate and progress along the way. And it could be like super small things, but just encouraging and supporting and celebrating is really important. But the last thing that I'll talk about, and it's so this really does tie into fostering, resilience and
Yeah.
confidence, is open communication and understanding.
Okay.
So that's huge. I mean, you have to start to have very open and honest communication with your teen about everything, but really about like, what do you want to do after high school? If college is not your path, or if you want to go to college, but you're not ready. So that's college deferment. So like I said, in my gap year, I was the only one that wasn't going to college. They had all deferred for a year.
Okay.
And actually Harvard prefers you to defer a year.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Can I go back? I love what you're saying. But you said if we need to kind of how to do this. And I'm always looking down here. I'm taking notes. I take notes all the time. I want to learn about this. So, in terms of helping them figure out what they want, I definitely understand. And I love that you're talking about fostering a growth mindset. That is something that as parents, hopefully, we're paying attention to, and we're doing that ongoing, and knowing that, you're going to fail at something, you're going to get back up. We're going to keep learning, whether that's learning a new language at school or figuring out that math problem, persevering through challenges, breaking down those goals. I like that you said that, breaking things down for them. If the kiddos are, let's just say we got a sophomore, junior, we're kind of getting there, but we're not quite, to out of high school yet. How might parents, what would be some other, do you have any ideas or thoughts on how parents could look at what are the other options, just to be able to know themselves and then be able to present it to their 15, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, other options of just what is out there. This is something that I don't think it's talked about all that much, especially, again, I'm in a particular community where everyone is just geared. You're going to college for the most part. I don't even know what the stats are on it, but I think great majority go to college. So if there's something else, if there's another option, as parents, we've got to start looking outside the box. And what is that? And that's why I'm asking you, are there other ways that parents can kind of look towards, or what can they look at to see what other options are there than that? And then I want you to answer the question that I know is burning for most parents. And that is, because I have it too. Wait, what if my kid doesn't go to college? What does that kind of mean? What is he or she needs a college degree?
No.
Don't they need a college degree? Okay. So anyways, I want you to answer that question, but before, can we just go, we're going to get back to everybody. I want to return to the question about kind of how do we find other options that are out there for our kids?
Yeah, I mean, there are many, many options, but I think, there's gap years, there's internships, trade schools. There is just joining the workforce. I mean, look, every teen, whether they go to college or not go to college, they have to get a job and they have to know how to do that. So you hire a coach like myself, because I help.
Yes. That's what you do.
Give a menu of option of, I help, I help the teens really nail down what their passions, interests are, and their strengths and skills, which environment is best, and then give a menu of options. And those are all the options I just mentioned: gap year, internships, trade schools, joining the workforce. Those are all options to a traditional four-year school.
Okay. And then the question of, but what about my kiddo needs to go to college in order to succeed? Doesn't everyone at least need that college degree before they go?
Look, no one is the same, right? You're not, I mean, no one is the same. We're all individual. We're all different. But, and the reality, and that's what I've been saying, is that embracing individual paths, you cannot fit a square peg in a round hole.
Right. Yeah.
So not everyone needs to go to college. Not everyone is meant to go to college. And there are more and more people dropping out because they weren't a fit for college. And now they're dropping out. That's happened to 3 people I know. And it like college is for some people. So if you want to be a doctor, yes. If you want to be a lawyer, yes. But there's so many paths. There's so many different jobs that you can get that you don't need college. I'm going to bring this up again. When I was at Spotify, I had 1,000 resumes for every single job I had. And my hiring team cared more about the soft skills, cared more about, do these candidates, do they fit into our values? Almost every company have values and a mission statement. The values are what companies interview against. So for example, a couple of values will be, at Spotify, innovation, are you an innovator? Are you passionate? Transparency. Like those are some values. So if candidates show that, they're going to get past the recruiter screen, because I'm telling all of you parents out there, your kids are going to be interviewing with recruiters like myself for their careers, and recruiters look for soft skills.
And what are those soft skills? Can you describe those?
I mean,
I know there's
I
just want to hear you
passion. There is, the grit, the it factor. Do you have what it takes are you a grinder? Are you someone do you have a growth mindset? And I'm telling you, companies and hiring teams want candidates that have a growth mindset, because that means that they're coachable, they're teachable, they're going to move up. They're willing to learn, willing to maybe they're going to make mistakes at work, but instead of freaking out, they are going to know how to deal with that type of errors or failures or mistakes and learn from them.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. And I would think also things I'm thinking of, but an ability to communicate your own, whatever's going on, to be, the ability to communicate effectively, speaking and writing, probably with most jobs, and this is something I've heard just out in the milieu of the world, but like to be able to emotionally regulate yourself and manage yourself so that you can get along. I'm just going to make this but be able to have relationships and get along with others, because we all have to work in some kind of group or community. I mean, it's rare unless you're a solo writer, or, there are positions where you're working on your own a lot, but for the most part, I mean, everyone has got to be able to work with someone, work together, be cooperative, and communicate.
I will tell you, one of the questions that I always ask as a recruiter, and most recruiters or hiring teams ask, is tell me about a time when you were in a setting with other people and you were working on a project and something didn't go right. How did you deal with it?
Okay. Yeah. So again, that's going to show some ability to see that something didn't go well, and then how did you manage that? How did you shift?
Because unless you're, even when if you're going to be an engineer, usually engineers are more siloed, like they headphones on, they do their work, but they are in a team. So team and it's the emotional intelligence is extremely important.
Okay. Those are some of the, I knew that those are, I just wanted you to talk to us about it, but those are all of those skills are really, really important. The soft skills. So some of those soft skills can be learned most definitely outside of the context of a 4-year traditional college.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. What else? I want to just ask, as we kind of get to wrapping up, what else would you like to share with our audience before I ask you the last question I'm going to ask you?
It's so important to develop confidence. It's so important to develop confidence and have your, it's really important to foster communication And so develop
Mhm.
confidence and resilience and foster open communication and understanding. And so
Okay.
have those really important talks. Like, for example,
Mhm.
maybe you and your teenager will have a date and you'll go
Mhm.
get ice cream or frozen yogurt, or you go to you go to dinner, and you could start to have these conversations like, hey, for example, John, hey, John,
Yeah.
or Jennifer, how have you thought about what you want to do after high school? How are you feeling
Mhm.
about maybe, doing a gap year or before
Yeah.
you go to college? Or are you feeling like college is the path that you want to take? And then just asking
Yeah.
so many questions and just making sure that
Mhm.
the teen feels heard and respected and understood, because then that they'll
Yeah.
be more open to sharing their thoughts and feelings and concerns. And,
Yeah.
trust is super important. And, it's hard.
Mhm.
Like, I didn't like having these conversations with my parents. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, it's your parents.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
they
Yes, I
want to be
know.
an open
Yeah.
book. I know you know. But it
Yeah.
is incredibly invaluable. And then
Yeah.
also, like, I know sometimes, and I don't want to put words into my own parents' mouth, but again,
Yeah. Yeah.
they were both very, very academic. And so
Mhm.
maybe
Yeah.
at first, when they realized that I wasn't going to college, maybe there was a little bit of a
Yeah.
judgment. But it's really, really important to create a
Mhm.
judgment-free zone. And I know it's not
Okay.
easy, but make it
Yeah.
clear to the teen that they can come to you with anything. And again, whether it's, I don't know if I want to go to college, or I have no idea what I want to do with my life, and this is hard for me,
Mhm.
and all my friends are
Yeah.
getting accepted to these colleges, but I don't think it's my own path. I mean, that's hard.
Right.
But as
Yeah.
long as parents, are work on their patience and being
Mhm.
supportive and building that trust and open
Yeah.
communication, that's going to be amazing. And of course it takes time, but going on dates and just like, being more just more loving and
Yeah.
all will help your
Yep.
child open up, I think. And
All
it
right.
did for me.
That's those are amazing. I completely agree. All right,
Yes.
because I've got one more
Yes.
question for you that I'd
Yeah.
like to ask you, and that is, what are you grateful for?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question, Tess. Well,
That's
okay.
the end question
Can
for
I
all guests.
okay, can I give like a few things I'm grateful for?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
grateful for meeting you and our
Oh,
wonderful
thank
program.
you.
And
Yep.
obviously I'm grateful for my husband, and I'm grateful for my friends and
Mhm.
my family. But I guess speaking in
Yeah.
terms of what I'm doing now, I'm gonna be
Mhm.
honest. I am grateful for my parents for having
Mhm.
my parents are my
Uh,
ideal clients, because they
yeah.
were when it was obvious to them that
Yeah.
school was really hard for me and painful,
Mhm. Yeah.
they totally switched gears and worked on making sure that I was in an environment where I was gonna
Yeah.
do better. So they pulled me out of a regular
Right.
high school, and I went to a private school that
Mhm.
specialized in kids that had learning differences, whether it was
Okay.
dyslexia, executive functioning, ADD, ADHD. I was in a
Yeah.
school where I was in a classroom of like 5 people. They got
Okay.
tutors, and more importantly, they set me up for success after high school by encouraging,
Yeah.
well, basically telling me I didn't have a choice, but I was doing a gap year.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, at those times, I didn't have a choice. Like,
Yeah.
my sister and I had to do what our parents said, but
Right.
they
Right.
were like, "Look, you can't stay home. We've got to get you
Mhm.
on a path, for your adulthood."
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
they shipped me off to Kentucky and then Washington, D.C., where I ended my gap year.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. So thank you so much. I really appreciate
Thanks,
you being on the
Tess.
podcast,
This was
Liz.
wonderful.
This was fun.
So glad we did
Thank
this.
you.
Thank you.
Me too.